Well, my mother thinks my novel is perfect.
Welcome to Not Safe for Words. I'm your host, Crystal L. Kirkham, multi-genre author, editor, and cover designer. I'm here to give you insight into the world of publishing and to help you avoid the mistakes that others have made. So stick around, you're in for one hell of a ride where I don't curb the curses.
One of the scariest things that you can do as a writer is sending your work out to be read for the first time by somebody else. This is also something that is critical in the development of a good story. What I'm talking about here are your early readers. And by early readers, I don't mean the first people to purchase your novel. What I'm talking about are your alpha readers, beta readers, critique partners, and in some cases, even your ARC readers. ARC being advanced reader copies. Now, each of these are different things. Not everybody uses every level of feedback. And if I'm going to be honest, there are people out there who use none of these levels of feedback. They don't have early alpha readers, they don't have beta readers, they don't have critique partners, and they don't even send out advanced reader copies to any trusted readers. But that is their choice. In my personal opinion, these are fucking critical steps that should be done to ensure that what you're putting out is a really good story. I honestly have no idea what I would fucking do without them. They are my everything. I often say that a good early reader, normally I say beta reader, is worth their weight in gold and should be treated like the absolute royalty that they are. Because there is such a thing as bad early readers, and we're going to talk about that in a second here. But first of all, I want to talk about what these things really are on an individual basis and what these terms mean. First on the docket are your alpha readers. Now, alpha readers are definitely not something that everybody uses, but they are something that I like to use. After I go through and do a lot of the main edits and any ads or takeaways that I think the story needs, I send my story to an alpha reader. And these are the people who read your really, really rough manuscript and give you overarching feedback. They tell you about any potential plot holes, any character development issues, any things that they want to see develop more, or parts of the story that just made them fall asleep. Alpha readers are made of some really sturdy stuff because they're taking a manuscript that probably needs a lot more work than most early readers are used to reading. So they need to understand whether they're looking at a large picture or a small picture. And alpha readers really are more of a large picture reader. They're the ones that let you know even if the story's worth the effort. Which is why I use them, because I don't want to spend months editing a manuscript only to find out that the story fucking sucks. Alpha readers are hard to find because a lot of people get stuck not being able to see the forest for the trees. And you really need somebody who's a big picture thinker, who can see how it all might be or should be. That's what your alpha reader needs to do if you choose to use one. Your next level of reader is the far more commonly known beta reader. These are people who are going to take a little bit of a deeper look at your manuscript. You've been through it a few times. You've revised, you've added scenes, you've taken things away, you've polished it and polished it and polished it, and dear God, you hope it's fucking good. Beta readers? They're the ones who tear it apart. They're also going to do a lot of the same things that an alpha reader does. They're going to point out inconsistencies and character development flaws and plot holes and all of that. And let's hope that, let's say you do use that alpha reader, that there are none of those things left to be noticed. They're also going to look at it on a smaller scale of whether or not things even sound good or work well for them. They're almost like a mini editor in a way. And with a beta reader, a really good beta reader, they're not going to always get your manuscript to editing perfection. That's not their job. That's an editor's job. But their job is to make sure that you're one step closer to putting out the absolute best product you can. And on a very similar level to beta readers are what people call CPs, also known as critique partners. These are people who are also authors. They're ones who know what a story needs, who understand how plots and character arcs work. They're the ones who actually understand this whole story business. They might be able to give you a little bit better feedback in that regard than some beta readers who maybe aren't authors, who don't understand what publishers or agents might be looking for. So while they're similar levels, they're very different types of feedback that you're going to be getting. And these people are there to help you put out a better product. And that's the whole goal. Now, one of the things you have to remember with any of the feedback that you're getting is to take it with a grain of salt. You also need to trust that the people you're choosing have the best interests of your story in mind. So while you may take some of the advice with a grain of salt, even most of it, you also have to take the time to think carefully about why they're giving you that advice, or why they're saying that you should cut this or add this or develop that or fix whatever. Because chances are, if one of them is seeing it, two of them are seeing it, three of them are seeing it, it's probably something you need to look at. Because, as I said, as an author, you're going to have blind spots in your own work. You're going to have things you're not going to see because your brain is expecting one thing, and that may not be what's there. You know more in depth about the story you've written than what's on that page. Your reader isn't always going to see everything that's in your head, and it's not always going to translate well on the page. And that's why these early readers are so fucking critical. So now that you know what these different types of readers are and what they do, where the hell do you find them? But I gotta say, this is a question I see being asked a lot across the writing community. Where are these readers? Some of us get lucky. I've been writing for a really long time, and I've made so many friends within the writing community, in so many different forums, that I have a lot of people who are fans of my work, who honestly believe in my work, who are willing to give me feedback. And in turn, I am more than happy to give them feedback on their own work as well. That's the biggest part, is that you've just got to make connections. In my case, my alpha reader isn't even somebody that I met in any of these writing forums or communities. It's my boss at work. Of all fucking weird places to find somebody to be a reader, that was where I found her. She, as I said, is an unbelievably avid reader. She's a wonderfully smart person, and I've helped train her to learn what to look for and how to comment on things. And she's brilliant. She knows what a reader is looking for in a story, and if it wasn't for her, I'm not sure my stories would be half as good as they were. But when you're choosing people, there's a few things you should probably keep in mind. Number one, you don't want somebody who's just a fan of your work, who's nothing more than a yes person. You don't need that. You need someone who is willing to look at it hard and be critical and not afraid to be honest with you. Another thing you might want to think about is somebody who has a similar writing style. I've had an early reader before who had a very different writing style from mine, and I found that her advice often didn't really sit well with me. So she wasn't somebody I continued to use in that manner. But the biggest thing is, if you want to find these people, make friends, help out, interact with other writers. Just be yourself, be honest, be nice, and be helpful. Now, one of the other readers that I mentioned in here that I haven't talked about yet are your advanced reader copy readers. not everybody's going to be using these, especially if you're going for a more traditionally published method where your publisher is going to handle getting ARCs sent out. But if you're self-publishing, if you've got more free reign, like with an indie publisher, you may have a hand in getting those early advanced reader copies out. And these are the copies that your novel has been gone through by a professional editor. It's been gone through by proofreaders. It's been formatted. It's ready to hit the shelves. These early readers for advanced reader copies are the ones that give you those reviews that start getting your book noticed. You really want to start doing this process anywhere from a year to, at the very latest, 6 months prior to your book is released. Because there are some early review services that require a minimum of 6 months. They're not cheap, like Kirkus Reviews, but they're well respected. If you have personal ARC readers, those are the ones who may even notice and give you feedback that maybe that novel isn't as ready to hit the shelves as you thought. There are people who are willing to pick out any mistakes as well, who aren't going to leave a review based on the mistakes that they've noticed and have sent back to you to be able to correct before this book actually goes out into the world. And as I said, this is something that as a self-published author, or maybe even a indie published author, you might want to consider. Because having those people who not only are willing to leave reviews, but are willing to help you make sure that final product is the best it can be, are just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. This podcast is going a little bit longer than most of them because this is such an incredible topic. It's such an in-depth topic that I can't even begin to cover everything that you need to know about these early readers. But I'm going to do something that I honestly don't normally do, and I'm actually going to leave you a book recommendation. I want you to take a chance and pick up Early Readers Catch the Worms by Carol Beth Anderson. She is an incredibly talented author. She has worked long and hard as a self-published indie author to get her work noticed, which frankly, I've read her books. She's talented. She's wonderful. And to be honest, she's also a very, very nice person to talk to. There is a link in the show description, so do take a look. I highly recommend this book to you if you want to learn more about these early readers. Hopefully, this helps you understand some of the terms you see thrown around, especially if you're new to the industry. This has been another episode of Not Safe for Words. I hope you found some useful advice here today. If you have feedback on this or any other episode, tweet me or leave a voicemail on Anchor FM. Don't forget to join me next time for more publishing and writing insights. Thanks for listening.